wearing white jerseys. Lagway steps up over the middle of the field, and that one is too tall. Intended that time for Marcus Burke. Burke, the junior from Jacksonville. And it's punting time for the Orange offense. That's what the fans want to see, though, right? A couple of shots down the field.
Took some shots. You'd like to hit a few of those. I'll tell you what the fans are wanting to see is a little more scoring than last year's orange and blue game. It was an auspicious spring. I thought the offense got better as the season went on last year, but looking to take it to the next level in Graham Mertz's second year in Gainesville.
Hunter Smith will punt it away to Trey Mitchell. Trey Wilson, I beg your pardon. And Trey Wilson with a fair catch at the 28, a 47-yard punt with no return. Graham Mertz, second season as the starter here in Gainesville, the Wisconsin transfer, the former Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year. He had a special season last year.
Had a special season, and it kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of people were less than impressed when he transferred through the portal to Gainesville, but I thought when I talked to the coaches last year, they were very confident in what he could do in this new offense, operating out of the shotgun, having more latitude at the line of scrimmage to get to the best play. His football IQ may be one of his best characteristics, and he really utilized that well last year in this offense.
Mertz on the pop pass to Trey Wilson.
Funny, Richard, we talked yesterday to Rob Sale, the offensive coordinator. 61 catches for that guy, Trey Wilson, last year. He goes, probably should have been 161. Now, not a whole lot of returning production from the wide receivers. In fact, the guys that returned from last year only combined for 60 catches. So he outnumbers them alone, but I guarantee you they're going to try to find creative ways to get number 3 the ball this year.
Mertz to the air, down the left side and incomplete. Trying to haul it in with a one-handed catch that time was Khalil Jackson. Jason Marshall in coverage.
You mentioned the downfield throws for the orange team, a shot there for the blue team. And the thing that we've noticed on both sides of the ball defensively have been defenders running in stride with the wide receivers. That's been a focal point this spring. Obviously, the defense has to play much better than they did last year, but playing the ball in the air was a little bit of an Achilles heel for this defense last year. So far, nice job by that secondary, both sides.
It was a young secondary a season ago. Third down play here for Mertz. That's complete across the 40, enough for the first down and to keep the drive alive for the blue offense. Jackson on the reception.
Yeah, like Khalil Jackson singled up on that side, uses that big body to shield off the defender, and a lot of trust from Mertz to throw that ball in there and let him use the body to prevent the breakup or even the interception.
Billy Napier talked about complementary football. You see that average starting field position from a year ago in terms of yards to the end zone. And it's not just on the offense. That's the defense and what they were able to keep the other offense from doing. Florida had to earn everything offensively a year ago.
Yeah, you don't necessarily think about that. When you think about poor defensive play, you think about giving up a bunch of points, bunch of yards. But when you don't create turnovers, it puts your offense in a bad situation. Only 7 takeaways for Florida's defense last year. Been a focal point in the spring, and we talked to Austin Armstrong yesterday. He's like, we've done the same things we've done in years past at other places I've been. It just didn't translate last year to many turnovers.
Austin Armstrong in his second season as the defensive coordinator here at Florida, but has been joined by his football dad, he said, on the staff. Ron Roberts making the transition from Auburn here to Gainesville. That pass complete to Montrell Johnson out of the backfield.
The thing I like about Graham Mertz is that he's very patient, doesn't try to force things, led the SEC in completion percentage last year, and maybe the most important number, not many interceptions, only 3 on the season last year, so very judicious with the football, that time taking what the defense gave him.
Another third down here for the blue offense, converted on their first third down opportunity. Mertz with a clean pocket in time. Now he's got to scramble. Throws across his body, complete at midfield. Into the Orange defense's territory. That's Trey Wilson, and that is the go-to guy.
You know, funny, last year during fall camp, all I heard about was number 3, making plays in scrimmages, and sometimes you wonder if true freshmen are going to be able to carry that over into the season. He certainly did at that time, kept working after the play broke down. Mertz did a nice job of getting outside of the pocket and letting number 3 uncover.
You mentioned it a second ago, 61 catches, 538 yards, 6 touchdowns a year ago for Trey Wilson. Johnson on the carry out of the backfield. Graham Mertz talked about familiarity. You asked him yesterday about the biggest difference between last spring and this spring, and kind of said everything. But he was kind of swimming and trying to learn a year ago at this time, where he says, now I've got a grasp on the offense, not just for myself, but to be able to teach with teammates.
I think that was the thing that was most surprising to me, is obviously takes over an offense with a new scheme, new language. So it's like coming to a new country and trying to figure out the local language. Now he speaks it very fluently, and he said what it allows him to do is not only play fast at the line of scrimmage, but take some of the young guys under his wing, be able to teach a little bit more. And when I say teach, it's explaining the why. I think as a football player, you're better on the offensive side, but the defensive side too, if you understand the why, not just what you're supposed to do, but why you're doing it.
Third down of this opening drive for the Blue offense, quarterbacked by 6th-year senior Graham Mertz. It's a give to Johnson again. Johnson picks his way through the defense, trying to get to that first down marker, and he's going to be dropped short of the line to game. Grayson Howard, the inside linebacker, comes up and makes the tackle. Sophomore from Jacksonville. They call him Pup Howard. Transfer in from South Carolina. Austin Armstrong said big addition for this defense.
Yeah, huge addition, and I think people have been surprised at how quickly he's acclimated to the change in scheme. A veteran guy that's played in this league before. It's important to go out and get experienced guys, something that this transfer portal season brought to Gainesville, but when you have experience in the SEC, it's even more valuable.
Going forward on 4th down, keeping it on the ground, and that's close. Should be enough for the first down. There is a white jersey that is down on the play and is injured, and that is the one thing that you absolutely want to avoid in spring practice.
Particularly on the defensive line, that's Tyreek Sapp that's down right now.
Cam Jackson, I think.
Cam Jackson, yeah.
And that is not a guy that they want to see banged up. With the break on the field, we'll take a timeout as
When are sports more than sports? When your highlight reel opens the door to 4 years of higher education, 0 student loan debt, and NIL earning potential. When your stats include free room and board, nutrition and mental health support, plus medical care with extended coverage. And when your experience it.
Gators fans can take a deep breath. Cam Jackson walked off the field on his own power, the senior from Haynesville, Louisiana. Transfer from Memphis, played 11 games, and an important piece on this defense.
Yeah, the defensive line hasn't been up to the Florida standard in recent years, and I think they feel like this year's defensive line is not only deeper with the addition of some new players, but I think they're also in better shape. That's largely what's been talked about this offseason, is guys like Caleb Banks, Cam Jackson, Desmond Watson losing significant weight to allow them to not only be fresher and play more snaps, but to be able to be fresh as the season wears on, which I thought last year Jackson wore down quite a bit.
Mertz flushed from the pocket, and he will throw this one incomplete, trying to get it to Trayon Webb out of the backfield. So Johnson getting a break. Trayon Webb, the redshirt freshman from Trinity in Jacksonville. One of the new things that you've got in college football this year is that communication system in the helmet of the quarterback. Asked Billy Napier about that, and he said, man, it's crazy to be able to talk directly to my quarterback, get the play in quickly, and perhaps mention something else as they're coming to the line. He thinks it's a game changer.
I love it. I don't know why it took college football so long to adopt this that the NFL's been using for a while. It obviously keeps sign stealing from occurring. But I do think the ability to give keys to the quarterback, particularly DJ Lagway today, a young guy in this offense, to have Coach Napier in his ear to help him direct his eyes to the right part of the field, what he's looking at based upon the play call, I think will benefit him significantly.
So another 3rd down on this drive. 13th play of the drive for the Blue offense. 2 of 3 on third down. They've got a fourth down conversion so far. Webb motions out of the backfield to the top of your screen. Mertz with time, and his pass is caught. Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson once again on the catch for another first down conversion after a gain of 12.
When in doubt, look for Trey Wilson, right? That's what he did last year with Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall passing the torch to Trey Wilson. That time had some pressure off his right side, but I thought Graham Mertz did a nice job of stepping up a little bit, buying him an extra tick and firing the ball in there for a first down.
Khalil Jackson, Trey Wilson, obviously going to be important in the passing game. Ricky Pearsall, who had such a good year a season ago. But also Chimere Dike, the transfer from Wisconsin, a guy who we will keep an eye on. Webb on the carry down to the 10-yard line. Dike and Graham Mertz, teammates at Wisconsin, they've both talked about a trust factor that exists, and they've just kind of been able to pick up where they left off in spring ball.
Yeah, DK mentioned he's caught thousands and thousands of balls from Graham Mertz in his career. Those guys obviously have a little bit of a rapport. Even more so, we hear those guys playing a lot of golf together. Mertz tried to deny that there's much golf being played right now, but I think the links are going to be
Sticks
occupied.
are coming out
They're
soon,
coming,
right?
yeah, no doubt.
On the ground to the left side, and good penetration that time from the front. Cam Jackson back in. He's in on the tackle, so was Sharif Denson.
Sharif Denson playing that star position, one of the most important and versatile positions in defensive football these days. You're playing in that nickel in the slot. You got to be able to set the edge against the run. You got to be able to blitz. You got to be able to cover. So Sharif Denson's a guy that Austin Armstrong said played a lot at the end of the year last season, but wished he would have played him even more. Another young player getting that valuable experience that's going to pay off this season.
Another third down. Blue offense 3 of 4 on this drive on third down plays. Mertz over the middle. That one's tipped into the air and incomplete. Grayson Howard in coverage. Trying to get it to the tight end, Arliss Boardingham.
Nice job by Howard there. Had one-on-one coverage. Looked like Arliss may have had a step on the defender, but Graham Mertz just a little behind him. I thought if you had the opportunity to throw it over again, he would have put it out about 2 feet further. May have been a touchdown.
31-yard field goal attempt for Trey Smack. Basically the middle of the field. Blue offense trying to get on the board first in the orange and blue game here at Steve Spurrier Florida Field. The field goal is good, and the blue team strikes first. Fans want touchdowns, not field goals, but you'll take the points.
Just getting warm right now. I thought that was a good drive. They converted some third and fourth down opportunities. Used a lot of the first quarter up, but just couldn't get it in down there in the red zone.
17-play drive that results in a field goal. We'll take a timeout. Kickoff coming after a 17-play drive for the blue offense that resulted in a 31-yard field goal from Trey Smack. Our second chance to look at the orange offense, who had the ball to start the game. This one's returnable. That is Mizell. Out across the 25. Mizell breaks tackles, and they'll blow it dead, I think. Around the 30-yard line, and so DJ Lagway and the orange offense will come back onto the field. The National Player of the Year. Threw for 100 touchdowns in high school. Can kind of do it with his feet as well.
Yeah, he's a do-it-all kind of guy. I think the thing that has stood out the most to the Florida coaches is his leadership. Guys just naturally gravitate to him.
DJ Lagway on his opening drive took a couple of shots down the field, both incomplete. 8th ranked player nationally in the ESPN 300. And has openly talked about the fact that he was still being recruited down to the day before signing day. A lot of pressure for him to stay in his home state of Texas. But he said Florida was the place that felt right for me.
A lot of resources in Texas to be able to put pressure on guys to stay in the state. But I think this was a huge get for Coach Napier. The hopes and futures obviously pinned on what Lagway can do, carrying him to the next generation after Mertz moves on. But I think it's a perfect situation for Lagway right now. Gets a chance to come in. He gets to learn not only the offense, but from Graham Mertz himself. And I thought DJ Lagway's father, they said it the best on Twitter, just thanking the Mertz family for Graham Mertz as well for just accepting his son and trying to take him under his wing to teach him.
Nifty move in the backfield there by Jaden Ball. Nice run. Moves the sticks. First down out to the 44-yard line. Graham Mertz talked to us yesterday about his relationship with DJ Lagway as well. As Lagway tries to get to the outside, and he is touched down at midfield. This was the message you were talking about just a second ago from the Lagway family. Derek Lagway Sr. tags Graham Mertz in it. Appreciate all the love you've showed DJ and our family. Nothing but love and respect for you and your family. Again, thank you. Hashtag Go Gators.
How great is that, though, in a day and age where players coming out of high school that are given that much attention want to come in and play right away? I think the family understands that the future is bright for Lagway. The worst thing I think that can happen for young quarterbacks sometimes is being put in situations where they're playing too early.
KD Daniels with the explosive run. Actually, Ball on the carry. Jaden Ball. Gain of 24.
Yeah, a couple nice runs in a row for Ball. And Florida did bring in 2 running backs. Obviously lost Trevor Etienne through the transfer portal. Montrell Johnson will get the majority of the snaps again at the running back position, but I think they have some nice options, including the 2 freshmen, Daniels and Ball.
Ball, the freshman from Atlanta, how about this? Averaged 14 yards per carry in his senior season at Columbia High School. 19 touchdowns in that senior campaign as well.
One thing you've seen through the last couple recruiting classes for Florida, emphasis on speed and an emphasis on length. This team looks a lot different to me than it did 2 years ago, and certainly the upgrade in speed with Ball being one of those guys has been a difference maker.
Ball gets a break. Now KD Daniels into the backfield, the freshman from West Point, Mississippi.
Gatorade Player of the Year in that state as well. So Florida being able to go into a couple different states outside of Florida and bring in some top players, which I think has made Florida fans excited. You know, the competition of recruiting has become one of the things that gets the fans' juices going in the offseason.
Manny Nunnery makes a play behind the line of scrimmage, the transfer from Houston. That's the end of the first quarter. Graham Mertz led the Blue offense down the field, put a field goal on the board, 3-0 after 15 minutes. Restoring, I'm Richard Cross. We're back with you. Steve Spurrier, Florida Field for the second quarter of action, the orange and blue game. It is the Florida spring game. Gators looking for a bounce back season in a big way. After going 5-7 a year ago, this is year 3 of the Billy Napier era, and I really thought in our conversation with him yesterday, he believes, Chris, that this program is in a good place, that from a roster standpoint, they are way closer to where they need to be than where they have been the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the gold standard in the SEC is Georgia now. He talked about years past in Jacksonville how different his team looked and the Bulldogs looked, but feels like when you look around this team now, they've got the length, they've got the size, they've got more depth, which I think was important. Florida struggled late game situations largely because they just didn't have the depth to play with a lot of the other teams in the SEC.
Lost the season opener on the road to Utah. Got 5 of their next 6 games in the win column, and then a 5-game losing streak to close out the season. In those last 4 games, though, incredibly competitive. Had a lead or within a field goal of the lead at some point in the fourth quarter of all 4 of those games, but couldn't finish.
I think one of the things you have to learn when you're trying to ascend as a program is how to finish ball games. Florida had opportunities. I think about the Missouri game, chances to get off the field and just couldn't.
DJ Lagway, that's a touchdown to Aiden Mizell. Over the middle, had time. That was the first passing play of the drive, a 22-yard strike.
How about it? The first drive, 3 passes, 3 and out for Florida's offense. That time they ran the ball down the field and came out of the timeout with an opportunity to throw the ball down the middle of the field. Nice job by Mizell. This was one of the 3 freshman receivers that Florida signed last year. Obviously, Trey Wilson has been the most successful so far, but looking for number 11 to kind of take that next step. I was at practice on Thursday, watched him make a contested catch down in the red zone. That would be huge if Florida could start to get a little bit more from him as well as Andy Jean.
Hunter Smith on for the extra point. And it's now the Orange offense in front, 7-3, 7 plays, 70 yards, a little under 3 minutes, capped off by a 22-yard touchdown pass from DJ Lagway to Aiden Mizell. Mizell, speedster, 10.65, 100-yard dash. He was able to find a seam and a strike from Lagway.
Yeah, great throw right there. 2 high safeties with man coverage underneath. Difficult to fit it in there. You got to kind of throw the high straight ball, which Lagway did. Nice throw, nice catch. Great timing between those 2 young players.
DJ Lagway, 8,392 yards in high school. Also had over 2,000 yards rushing. His senior year, so we looked at Mertz's completion percentage a year ago, which was tops in the SEC at over 71%. Similar type numbers, high school, I understand it's different, but in his senior season, Lagway completed 72% of his passes for 4,600 yards. That accuracy is important in this offense.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, being able to throw the ball accurately, being able to move the chains. Florida didn't take a ton of deep shots last year. That's something I think I'd like to see personally a little bit more from the offense. I know the receivers would like to have more chances down the field, but being accurate with the football and minimizing those interceptions, obviously key in every offense. But when you're having to string first downs together like Florida does, that accuracy is even more important.
So we've seen scoring drives from both offenses. We were talking about that relationship between Mertz and Lagway earlier, and Mertz was really singing the praises of Lagway as well. And he reminded him, he said, hey, I've kind of been into a similar spot as you, highly rated coming out of high school, going into a place with a veteran quarterback. He's like, if you got any questions, if there's anything like that I can help with, I'm more than happy to do so.
Yeah, you know, in a lot of quarterback rooms, whether we're talking about college or in the pros, there's typically, you know, a rivalry, a protection of the job. And I think a lot of times those guys don't get as well. But I think having had a quarterback like Mertz have that experience has been beneficial for sure in the perspective of bringing DJ Lagway along.
Jacoby Jackson on the carry. Mertz on the sideline now. That's Clay Millen in at quarterback. A gain of 32 yards for Jackson.
Nice job on the little read option there. You mentioned Clay Millen coming in. He may play quarterback for both sides, but how about Jackson putting together a little burst after he hit that second level?
Originally from Pensacola, transferred in from Coahoma County Community College. That's in the Mississippi Delta. Clarksdale. Ethan Wilson on the tackle. Again, Jacoby Jackson on the carry, and that's another big gain, 15 yards.
Picking up chunks here. Both the blue team now and the orange team last drive making a concerted effort to run the football. A lot of running backs that are kind of vying for some playing time behind Montrell Johnson this year.
This time to the air. Pass is complete to DK. Timmery DK, the transfer from Wisconsin. Honorable mention All Big Ten in the 2022 season. And a big addition for this Florida offense and the receiver room.
Big addition for a number of reasons. Obviously, you know, the relationship between Graham Mertz and DK is huge, but this is a position I think that really needs to step up. I talked about the returning production from last year. 61 catches from Trey Wilson. The rest of the returning players on the Florida roster only had 60. So going out and getting a veteran guy like DK, I think is big, not only from a production standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint of guys that are really young in that room.
Mertz and DK. This was the 2022 season. 43 catches, 6 touchdowns. Not only familiarity, but comfort between those two guys. DK obviously not catching balls from Mertz right now. Back to the ground, and this time quarterback keeps it. That's Clay Millen picking his way down to the 16. Well, they'll mark him at the 18-yard line. Actually, they may mark him at the 19-yard line, and that's going to bring up a 4th down situation. By the way, Billy Napier, the head coach has,
yes,
he's got final authority in these games and sometimes wants to see some situational
You could
things.
see him pointing like he wanted to have an opportunity for the field goal team to come on here. I can promise you it wasn't for the benefit of the defense, because as an offensive-minded coach, the guy calling the plays probably would like to stay on the field a little bit more, win that battle, but having a chance to work on all aspects of the game here in front of a crowd today on the game field is important.
38-yard try from Smack, and he makes another. And that makes it 7-6. And we've got a break on the field. More coming up from the Florida spring game after this. We are joined on the field now by Billy Napier, third-year head coach here in Gainesville. So both offenses have had scoring drives. Coach, what have you seen so far that you like?
Well, I think we've made a few plays on third down to keep the drive alive, and it's good to see some of these young players who maybe have had a little bit of experience last year show up and play with some confidence. You know, I think overall pretty clean so far, and we want to see more of that.
Yeah, one of the young guys that stepped up and made a play there was Aiden Mizell, part of that threesome that signed last year in the 2023 class. How important is it for young guys like him and maybe a few other guys to step up and give some support there to Trey Wilson in that receiver room?
Yeah, in particular in that room, you know, we need some of those young guys to continue to develop. Aiden's had a great offseason, you know, and I think he was a track guy coming out. I think he's developed nicely. Coach Gonzalez has done a good job with him. You know, he was an elite sprinter, 10.6, 48 quarter. Both parents ran track at the University of Florida. So his receiver game, his skill level has improved, and it's good to see him show up, make a play. That's going to give him some confidence going into the rest of the offseason.
Coach, you've had a chance to watch DJ Lagway throughout the spring, but for Gators fans, this is kind of their first real opportunity to see him. Tell fans a little bit more about him, and particularly in that throw that we saw earlier.
Well, I would say the most impressive thing about him is the character piece. I think his humility and the way he handled all the attention. You know, I think we started recruiting DJ before he became the 5-star Gatorade National Player of the Year. And to see him handle the recognition that comes with that, I think it's been awesome to see. His family's impressive. A ton of respect for how the young man that they've raised. But he's a worker. You know, he's got the respect of his teammates because of the detail, the discipline, the work ethic, and he's worked extremely hard going all the way back to January.
Coach, I know there's a few goals every season that you head into spring with. Obviously, one of the focal points had to be improving the defensive side of the ball. Why do you think that group will be better this year?
Well, we've got experience. You know, I think for the first time there, if you look at that group as a whole, a lot of players playing last year, first time they've played, right? And I think they went into this offseason kind of understand what's required in this league to play. You added a few pieces to the puzzle, right? A couple young freshmen that are going to be impactful, and then some portal players, in particular in the back end. So overall, I think the experience piece is important. We also made a couple of changes on the staff, and I think that's gone well so far.
Coach, we appreciate your time. We're going to catch up with you a little bit later in the game. Good to see you.
Okay, guys. Thank you all.
Billy Napier, head coach with the Gators. I think liking what he has seen so far, but he's also been with this group every day throughout the spring.
We've definitely had a chance to see how this team has evolved. I think even during a 15 practice spring, you can see the growth, particularly in the young players. You go through installation, you see them become a little bit more comfortable. I think all the coaches have kind of talked about the difference in the final 2 weeks of spring practice versus where they were when they started a little over a month ago.
Billy Napier told us one of the things that he likes is the experience. So talking about returning production from a year ago, 68%, 70% on the offensive side, over 41,000 snaps in game action coming back on this team. And that's different from a year ago. Austin Armstrong said, I looked up on the opening defensive possession against Utah, and we had 2 guys on the field that had taken a snap for the Florida Gators.
How about Florida last year? Had 7 true freshmen playing every single ball game. That's the most in the nation last year. Well, the good thing about playing young guys early is they come back a little bit more experienced the next year. You talked about the total number of snaps that return. But I think defensively is where they're going to benefit the most. So many young guys. You mentioned Jordan Castell earlier in their game 1 at the safety position. 25% of all the defensive snaps last year came from true freshmen, which is crazy to think about, but obviously very challenging as those guys try to acclimate to football in the SEC.
Graham Mertz back in at quarterback for the Blue offense. They put a couple of field goals on the board. The only touchdown has come from the Orange offense on that pass from Lagway to Mizell earlier. This is Trey Wilson on the carry. You know, Chris, there's an interesting dynamic in the football world right now, and it's, are you building a team or are you building a program? And then how do you do both successfully in terms of maintaining culture? And Billy Napier, pretty candidly, yesterday when we sat down and talked with him, he said, I'd be lying if I called the last 2 years fun, because they weren't. But it feels like it's moving in the right direction, especially with the terms of the roster makeup.
Yeah, I think that building a program is very difficult, right? You bring in guys, you don't know how long you're going to have them. You're having to re-recruit your roster every single day, dealing with the portal. They had a number of losses, but also were able to be prosperous in the portal as well. 33 new faces between the transfer portal guys and the freshmen here that are early enrollees making their debut in the Swamp today. And I think that's part of the trend across the country. Very difficult to know what to expect from year to year with all the turnover.
You don't see his name there, but one of those additions through the portal, Asa Turner, who just broke on that ball and batted it away. He started in the national championship game in January for the Washington Huskies.
Yeah, also played for Will Harris back at Washington, was recruited by Will Harris, who's now the new Florida secondary coach. So when you can get a guy that played in the national championship, that's a sixth-year player, that is a huge benefit, particularly with how many freshmen you had to play at the safety position last year.
50-yard punt by Crawshaw with no return. Jeremy Crawshaw getting the opportunity there. That was the first punt for the Blue offense in the game today. Some key additions on the defensive side. You see Asa Turner's name there, along with Bridges from Oregon. Jameer Grimsley, interesting story. He's classified as a transfer because he went through a few practices with Alabama, but then transferred. He's in his first year of college football.
Yeah, it was a week there with the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban ended up deciding to retire.
Did he?
Kalen, yeah, he did. I don't know if you heard that in the offseason, but yeah, Kalen DeBoer would not let him out of his NIL, so actually is considered a transfer. And a guy that I think, again, we've talked about Florida trying to upgrade length. Jameer Grimsley down there pregame has the length that you want at that corner position. I think between he and Devin Moore, much more potential to be physical with opposing wide receivers with that length.
Lagway back to the air. That's Marcus Burke, the wide receiver. Burke, the redshirt junior, fourth year in the program from Jacksonville, had 6 catches in 7 games last season. What about the tight end spot? We saw 1 target to Arliss Boardingham earlier in the year. Hayden Hansen, a guy that returns as well and played a lot a season ago. How important in what Florida is trying to do offensively is that tight end position?
It's huge. I mean, the 12 personnel is something that, you know, Florida feels very comfortable in. They want to be able to run the football. When you have guys like Boardingham that can give you a little versatility, he's not the greatest blocker. He's more of the H-back kind of position, whereas Hansen's more of the on-the-end line of scrimmage Y. But those guys, particularly the versatility that Boardingham can bring you, being able to split out in a wide receiver position creates matchup issues that the advantage goes to the offense on.
Burke on the carry there. The previous play was Ball, who's had a nice spring game. It was a 15-yard gain, 4 carries for 51 yards so far for Jaden Ball. Full transparency, our scoreboard shows 7-6. That's how we were told they were keeping score. In the stadium, they've given the Orange team an extra field goal, so 10-6 on their scoreboard. You said liberties that exist in the spring game.
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of the starters on the blue team and on the blue offense particularly, so maybe putting them at a little bit of a disadvantage here so the game stays competitive. I don't know. I hadn't heard the formal announcement on that yet.
New set of downs for the Orange team offense. DJ Lagway, the National Gatorade Player of the Year out of Willis High School in Texas. Play action, lets it fly. What a pretty ball, and what a nice catch. On the reception, Taylor Speardo, the red shirt junior from Franklin, Tennessee, gain of 32.
Yeah, you know, a walk-on wide receiver has a soft spot in my heart. He's one of the two guys that was awarded a scholarship, with Khalil Jackson being the other one. But Speardo is always has a smile on his face. Watched him this week practice, man. Guy works hard, and he's been able to contribute here the last couple years.
Back to Jordan Ball. So much talk about DJ Lagway. You know, you can look at him and maybe you have questions mechanically about where his release is. But what there is no question about is the way the ball comes out of his hand, and that just tight driving spiral.
Yeah, a little bit of an unconventional release, drops it down a little sidearm, but the ball certainly has some revs on it when it comes out of his hand. The thing I like most about that last throw, he knew he had man coverage. He knew there was no defender over there. Instead of trying to zip it in there, put a little air underneath it and let his receiver run under it.
Third down coming here for the Orange team offense. DJ Lagway has gone the distance. We've seen Graham Mertz sub in and out on the other side. Part of that is they know exactly what they have with Graham Mertz. Over the middle, incomplete.
A little early, yeah.
Flag comes in, trying to get it to Burt. Rackley was in coverage.
Florida having some success on both sides of the ball, taking advantage of the middle of the field. Defenses for both sides leaving that part open, and that time Rackley got there a second early, but it might have been a good thing because he was beat and had a deep, the receiver had a step on him. May have been a touchdown. RC, you know what I like most from what I've seen so far from DJ Lagway? Getting in and out of the huddle, getting him to the line of scrimmage. You're not seeing delay of games. You're seeing him be able to manage the offense so far. This is a guy that hadn't been on campus for that long, has only had 14 practices officially under his belt. So being able to see him look like he's in control despite how new he is, I think is something that's very promising for the future.
There's been a lot of talk in this offseason about being more organized. And I think that is maybe encompassing the entire program in terms of game day operation, getting plays in and out, getting guys where they're supposed to be, off the field in terms of who's handling what within the coaching staff. And Billy Napier said we did a really deep self-scout, and we looked at every area of our program, and we made changes where we thought we needed to make changes.
Well, I tell you, it didn't take a deep dive to know that they were disorganized a lot from game one at Utah with 2 number 3s on the field, the drill penalty there to throughout the season, managing the clock in late game situations against Arkansas. So they've got to clean things up. They're not good enough to overcome self-inflicted wounds.
Lagway steps out of bounds at the 6-yard line.
That's one of those things
right there short.
Defenses can't account for, right? You know Lagway is going to be able to throw the ball. You know he's going to be involved in some of the called quarterback run games and the read option stuff. But when you have a quarterback that can break contain, it really puts pressure on defenses. One, because it limits the ability to play man coverage in the secondary. And that's maybe one of the best things that you can do to help a quarterback is to know what kind of defenses are coming. And that running ability certainly limits what opposing defenses are going to be able to do.
Jaden Ball back into the game. He gets the handoff, breaks a tackle, trying to get to that first down marker, and he's going to be dropped short. Tackle on the play made by Quincy Ivory off the edge.
Nice pursuit by the Florida, the blue team's defense. And I can't talk enough about how the emphasis of tackling has been repped over and over again this spring. Walt Harris to the point telling his secondary, come hit me. Like when your quarterback has his cleats on, he's out there taking part in some of the contact drills. You can tell that is setting the tone for what's expected on this defense, particularly in the secondary this year.
Another field goal try. This time it's Hunter Smith from 24 yards out, and he snapped that one left. No good, and so no points this time for the Orange offense. And that will take us to a timeout. 2 minutes left in this first half. 7-6, the orange team in front of the blue team. Important rule in this game, especially when it comes to number 15 and number 2. Wide open. Catch by Trey Wilson. He's out to the 35-40-yard line. That's a gain of 20 on the first down play.
Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about the relationship between Ricky Pearsall last year and Trey Wilson. Pearsall really took Wilson under his wing, and I think he benefited supremely from having the opportunity to work with number 1 last year.
How about a touchdown for Trey Wilson? 10-5 end zone. A 60-yard strike. Graham Mertz hit him in stride. That is 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown for Trey Wilson.
It was pretty apropos that I was talking about Ricky Pearsall, because what you saw from Trey Wilson right there was a Ricky Pearsall-esque route at the top. Set the underneath coverage up by giving him a little post nod, or excuse me, corner nod. Watch him set him up to the corner, got him to jump, and created separation to let him split the middle of the field.
Came away from our meeting with Graham Mertz yesterday really impressed. And one of the things that was really interesting, you hear about quarterbacks talking to other quarterbacks about things that they are looking for, but Graham Mertz is in a spot right now where he feels like he can also help his defense. Early in spring practice, he saw some things that the defense was doing. The offense took advantage of the play. And one of the linebackers came to him and was like, how'd you know we were coming? He's like, well, you had to tell.
Yeah,
you did this.
It was actually Sharif Denson, the star, and he was giving it away with his eyes. And I think that's the thing that's most interesting about this Florida team in general. It's not the offense versus the defense. It's a total team continuity where there's great chemistry with everybody. The guys enjoy hanging out with one another. And I think, that's how you get better in practice. You go hard, you compete hard, but yet you're able to share information. And I think Graham Mertz being able to share with a young player like Denson what he was doing to give that tell away is going to help his development. I mentioned before that star position, one of the things you have to be able to do is time up the blitz. It's a little bit of an acting job, not showing the defense what you're bringing. And I think one of the things that Graham Mertz emphasized a lot was just how much better this defense is at showing him a picture and making it hard for him to know what's coming because of the way they disguise things.
Obviously, Florida, a place with a rich quarterback tradition, and the expectations for that position are a little high. You think about some of the greats, whether it's Danny Werfel that you played with, or Steve Spurrier, or certainly Tim Tebow. The quarterback was unquestionably on those teams the leader. I thought watching just pregame warm-ups today, there's no question that this is Graham Mertz's football team, and his teammates respond to it.
Yeah, he came in last year and immediately gained the respect of his teammates. He was a leader last year from day one. I think the people respected around him the way that he went to work, the way that he went into the playbook to try to get the terminology and the scheme down, the way that he was relentless in his throwing on the field and trying to get better and better. I'll tell you what, he earned the respect of everybody. Offensive players, defensive players, the fans last year against Missouri. Third down, scrambles, makes a play, ended up fracturing his collarbone, stays in for another couple plays. The toughness and desire to win, if you have the rest of the players playing with that around him, this Florida team is going to be much improved.
And who knows, in a couple of years, we could be talking about DJ Lagway in the very same way. He scrambles out of bounds to stop the clock with 1:31. So we're running clock until we get to the last couple of minutes of the
can adjust there on the fly as well.
As immediately the clock starts to run again. So, however you want to go with it. 1:15 left in this opening half. Blue team has taken the lead with the 60-yard touchdown pass from Mertz to Wilson. Now Lagway on the run, wide open receiver, and that ball is caught Officials on the far sideline signaling a catch for Marcus Burke, 24 yards on the play.
Marcus Burke made some big plays early in the season against Utah in that Week 1 opener, able to secure the catch right there. He's a guy that would certainly help that wide receiver core kind of evolve a little bit if he could be a little more consistent than he was last season.
Lagway. And whistles blow the play dead. He was trying to get to the outside and did so. But with the pressure coming, they blow it dead at the 44-yard line.
This is an opportunity right here for the young players on that orange team to learn situational football, right? 40 seconds left in the half. You get the timeout to stop the clock, but Florida repped 2-minute offense on Thursday at practice over and over again, so it's a great chance for Lagway to kind of get his feet wet operating this offense in this tempo late in the first half.
Timeout taken by the orange team on the offensive side. Staff changes. It's something that Billy Napier did during this offseason on both sides of the ball and also in support staff surrounding the program. Who stands out for you? What's most important?
Well, I think one of the biggest gets for Florida in general was Ron Roberts, who comes in as the executive head coach for the defense, a guy that was at Auburn last year as their defensive coordinator. I've talked to a number of different guys in this league. Pete Golding, Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, couldn't talk glowingly enough about Ron Roberts and what he had done for his development. Patrick Toney, the former defensive coordinator here now with the Arizona Cardinals, is another one of those guys that learned from Ron Roberts. But Austin Armstrong, it comes in last year. He's a 30-year-old defensive coordinator in the SEC, getting his feet wet, play calling in this conference. Not threatened at all by bringing Ron Roberts in. You mentioned it earlier. He referred to Ron Roberts as his football father. And having those two guys working together, I think, is certainly going to benefit Florida's defense this year.
Had worked together previously and told us in the 5 years where they were not on staff together, Austin Armstrong told us he and Ron Roberts still talked 2 or 3 times a week. How about another completion over the middle all the way down to the 11-yard line? That's Marcus Burke again, and he's having a big day.
That is a ridiculously difficult catch. Going down, trying to catch the football by your ankles, being able to stay up and get the yards after the catch. Ideally, obviously, you want that ball at your chest, but a difficult pass to go down and catch that he made look easy.
Lagway throws that one into the turf. The previous game was 35 yards. They spotted it at the 10.
So now here's what we got to do. We got to coach Burke up on not coming out in the red zone. As a receiver, you never want to give up opportunities to catch touchdowns. So a young guy trying to learn a little bit here. You don't give anybody else your reps down at this part of the field.
Do you get to choose when you come out of the game?
He was tapping out like he was tired. Okay. I promise you, I ain't ever going to be tired down inside the 20.
You wonder how you caught all those touchdowns.
No, I wasn't catching 50-yard bombs. I was catching 20-yard touchdowns.
Second and goal from the 10, 21 seconds left in the quarter. Lagway flushed with his feet, goes out of bounds at the 5. Inside the 6-yard line. So a 3rd and goal coming for the orange offense. Give me a first half grade on DJ Lagway.
I think he looked good. I mentioned before his control of the offense. They played fairly clean on that side of the ball. Hadn't made any big mistakes. Had some early incompletions, but I think he's found a little bit of a rhythm. Certainly operating in the middle of the field looks like he's most comfortable today.
Orange team offense takes a timeout.
1 of 4 in the first couple series, and since then he's hit all 4 of his passes for 85 yards.
5 of 8 in the ball game. You asked Billy Napier about play calling, and it feels like it's a topic in a lot of different places when you have an offensive head coach that has come up and probably has that opportunity to be a head coach because of his play calling, but guys giving up that responsibility because there's so many other things that are on their plate as well. He says, I think I can handle it all, and he's delegating so that he can.
Think about last year. It was kind of the topic du jour, right? You saw Hugh Freeze pass along the play calling duties to Philip Montgomery at Auburn. You saw Eli Drinkwitz do the same thing to Kirby Moore at Missouri. It's worked with mixed results, right? It's been the best thing for Missouri. Drink talks about how much it's freed him up to really be the CEO and connect with a lot more of the defenders on a different level. Whereas Hugh Freeze, it did not work. In fact, you let Philip Montgomery go. You take play calling duties back over along with Derek Nix, who you add as your offensive coordinator. So I would find it hard to do as a guy that kind of cuts his teeth coaching, works his way up, calling plays, being an offensive-minded guy. To give that up and put your fate in somebody else's hand is as difficult to do. I played for a guy in Coach Spurrier that I never could have imagined passing those play calling duties along, but no. I think the game has evolved a lot since I've played. All the responsibilities that a head coach has on his plate and dealing with not only the transfer portal, but maintaining rosters and keeping everybody happy is very difficult to do these days.
You see the numbers for the Gators offense a year ago. 28 points a game, 150 on the ground, 260 through the air. And in today's modern day offense, you really would expect those numbers to be up a little bit from where they are.
Yeah, you like to see a little bit more production there. I talked earlier, love to see more shots down the field with the offense this year, particularly a guy like Trey Wilson. We saw it last drive, saw the big touchdown over the top. So having some of those big plays certainly will help this offense and maybe open up the run game too.
Play action, touchdown. Taylor Spierto in the back of the end zone hauls it in. That is the second touchdown pass for DJ Lagway.
Yeah, second touchdown pass of the day and second over the middle of the field again. Looks like he's really comfortable operating in that part of the field against Florida's defense, the blue team's defense today. Good job by Spierto going up and catching the ball with his hands there as well.
Spierto was a walk-on back in 2021. 2 catches in 13 career games. For a team that's looking to add depth at wide receiver, perhaps can see his role continue to grow in this Florida offense.
That's what I love about the spring game. It's an opportunity to show that you're ready to contribute next fall. A young player that maybe hadn't had an opportunity. Spierto getting an opportunity here today to make some big plays. His second catch, that one a big one for a touchdown.
Spring transfer portal close as well, and I think that is a position group where Florida's going to be looking hard to see if there are guys that fit what they're trying to do.
I'm glad you said that because I think there is a desire to add more in the wide receiver room, but it's not a desperation, right? We're going to go out and get a right guy that fits in terms of our offensive needs and adjusting to our scheme, but also somebody that's going to acquiesce to the culture of the locker room. I think that's one of the things that the coaching staff is the most proud of in their 3 seasons here now, being able to really change the culture, get guys in that buy in, and are certainly not only good players, but are good community folks as well.
Billy Napier said their focus in the transfer portal has been older guys with experience. He said we spent 2 years remaking the roster and are now really focused on guys that fit. And that means a lot of things, right? Fit offensive philosophy, fit culture, fit in the locker room.
It's interesting, too, that Billy Napier comes from a little bit of a hybrid upbringing, right? Had time at Clemson with Dabo Swinney, but also in that Alabama Nick Saban tree. So I think he mentioned evaluating talent is one of the things that he took from Coach Saban that he's been able to implement here. And I think they've done a great job the last couple of years of going out, identifying talent through the transfer portal. Whether you're talking about Ricky Pearsall 2 years ago, you're talking about Graham Mertz last year, projecting them to be guys that fit into the schemes offensively, defensively, what they're running has really been one of the strengths of this team so far.
Orange offense led by DJ Lagway's 2 touchdown passes. Jaden Ball with 7 carries for 60 yards. Graham Mertz 8 of 13, 123 yards and a touchdown. And what a day so far for Trey Wilson in the blue offense. 6 catches for 111 yards. 7 seconds until the halftime break. And they put it on the ground. I thought after the long break, that meant we had something coming.
I was going to say, any chance we get some spring boo birds out here, maybe prematurely getting upset by the play calling?
Jacoby Jackson on the carry, and that takes us to the halftime break. 17-13, the Orange team led by DJ Lagway at quarterback. In front, they did get a bonus field goal from some curious scoring. A fun first half here in Gainesville. Hang with us for halftime. We're back with you after this. An exciting first half on a gorgeous Saturday in Gainesville.